Hi guys, welcome to our channel, The Mechanics of Making Money. Today we're talking about some truly staggering numbers. Hold on to your hats, because we're diving into the world of political finance. In the year 2019 alone, an eye-watering $3.5 billion were funneled into political lobbying. That's not all. The presidential ad campaigns, they were funded by political donations that skyrocketed to an astronomical $14 billion. Yes. You heard it right, $14 billion. And here's the kicker. These colossal sums aren't just for the big leagues of federal politics. No, sir. Every year, vast fortunes are spent influencing policy decisions, from the grandeur of the Oval Office and federal Congress, right down to your local city councils. It's a veritable financial whirlwind sweeping across every level of our political landscape. So where does all this money go? And why is it allowed? To understand why this happens, we first need to look at how money influences politics. Now imagine the journey of a politician. From the moment they decide to run for office, they need funds to get their message across. They need to pay for advertisements, organize rallies, hire staff, and much more. This is where the role of money in politics begins to emerge. But where does this money come from? It comes from donors and lobbyists. Donors are individuals or organizations that provide funds to politicians or political parties. Lobbyists, on the other hand, represent interest groups who want to influence policy decisions. They use their funds to support politicians who are likely to favor their causes. Let's illustrate this with a hypothetical example. Suppose there's a group that wants to promote green energy. They can't vote, but they have funds. They look for politicians who are supportive of their cause and offer financial support for their campaigns. In return, they hope that these politicians will push for policies that favor green energy once they are in office. The same applies to industries, corporations, and even foreign governments. They all have interests, and they use their financial resources to influence policy decisions in their favor. From climate change to healthcare, from immigration to trade policies, every policy decision can be influenced by money. However, this doesn't mean that politicians are solely driven by money. Many politicians are genuinely passionate about their causes and work towards them regardless of financial support. But the reality is, without funds, their reach and influence are limited. There's also the issue of quid pro quo. It's the idea that something is given in return for something else. In politics, this can sometimes mean policy favors in return for financial support. It's a controversial practice, and laws are in place to prevent explicit quid pro quo. Yet it's challenging to regulate and even harder to prove. As you can see, money plays a vital role in politics, but is this a good thing? Well, that's a question with many layers, and we'll delve into that in the next part of this video. Now, you might be thinking, this doesn't sound too fair, but there are reasons why this system exists. Let's start with the concept of freedom of speech. It's one of the cornerstones of our democratic society. When individuals or organizations donate or lobby, they're essentially expressing their political views. They're saying, I believe in this candidate, this cause, or this policy. And while it's true that some have deeper pockets than others, the act itself is a form of political participation, a way of making one's voice heard. On to the second point, representation. Our country is diverse, with a wide range of interests and viewpoints. Lobbying allows these varied interests to be represented and heard. Consider, for instance, a non-profit fighting for environmental conservation, or a trade union lobbying for workers' rights. These groups lobby to ensure their voices reach the ears of those in power, and their concerns are taken into account when policies are formed. Now let's talk about supporting the democratic process. Campaigns cost money, lots of it. From staffing and travel to advertising and events, funds are necessary for candidates to effectively communicate their platforms and engage with voters. Donations, therefore, play a crucial role in keeping the wheels of our democracy turning. However, it's important to note that this system, like any other, is not immune to misuse. Transparency and accountability are key to preventing the undue influence of money in politics. Laws exist to ensure that donations and lobbying are done openly, and that elected officials are held accountable for their decisions. So while it might seem like a lot of money, these donations and lobbying efforts can be seen as an essential part of our political system. They allow for a free exchange of ideas, ensure a diversity of interests are represented, and provide the necessary resources for the democratic process to function. As long as transparency and accountability are maintained, political lobbying and donations can serve to strengthen, not undermine, our democracy. Let's recap what we've learned today. In the world of politics, money is a key player. It's a game of high stakes, where a staggering $3.5 billion was spent on political lobbying in 2019 alone. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Political donations funded presidential ad campaigns that topped $14 billion. These mind-boggling figures are not only prevalent in the major leagues of federal politics. Every year, vast fortunes are invested to shape policy decisions, from the Oval Office and federal Congress, right down to your local city councils. So why is this allowed? It's a question many of us ponder. But as we've seen, there's a defense for political lobbying and donations. One of the key arguments is the principle of freedom of speech. Supporters argue that just as individuals have the right to express their views, so too do organizations and corporations. Political lobbying and donations serve as a conduit for these entities to voice their interests and concerns. They provide a platform for diverse sectors of society to influence the direction of policies that affect them. Yes, the sums involved are astronomical, and yes, they can influence the political landscape, but that's how the system works. It's a reflection of the complex interplay between politics, power, and money, a system that, while far from perfect, is the product of the democratic process we uphold. In a nutshell, money in politics is a double-edged sword. On one side, it can seem to tilt the scales. On the other, it's a means for diverse voices to be heard in the political arena. The debate about political lobbying and donations will continue, no doubt. But for now, we hope this discussion has given you a fresh perspective on why the system exists as it is. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share so you see our future videos pop up on your news feed. Stay safe out there, guys.